And one, if I may, for Stephen Powers. When Dominic Cummings attended SAGE, did he ever say anything? And if so, what?
Stephen.
Yeah, so we work very closely with the Royal College of Surgeons, and neither the Royal College or ourselves in the NHS would want to see delays of that order of magnitude. We have had to step down elective surgery in order to focus on ensuring that we cope with the surge in patients with coronavirus, but as soon as we possibly can, we do want to step that back up again. I think the Chief Medical Officer has on a number of occasions articulated the consequences of a global pandemic in terms of deaths and harm to individuals and populations. There are the deaths that occur directly as a result of the coronavirus. We've talked about that sadly earlier. There are the deaths and the harm that occurs because the health service becomes overwhelmed and simply can't cope. And we haven't seen that here. As I said earlier, the NHS has coped admirably, and we've always maintained the capacity that it hasn't been overwhelmed. We can also see deaths and harm because individuals, for whatever reason, don't access the services that are actually up and running. And that's exactly why I opened today with a reminder to everybody that those emergency services are still there for you. And you mustn't be afraid to come forward and to access them, and certainly not to delay accessing them if you have symptoms that might be an emergency. And then finally, there's the harm that is potentially done because of the economic consequences of a pandemic. And it will take many years to see exactly what those consequences are in terms of harm to the population. But in the third of those, we do want to get those services, those elective services, up and running as quickly as we can. We are beginning to focus on that in the NHS now, but clearly we need to make sure that we are also managing the patients that we still have with coronavirus. On the question on SAGE, I've been attending SAGE since towards the end of February, and my experience of SAGE has absolutely been about scientists and experts, and there are scientific experts at SAGE from a variety of disciplines, epidemiologists, behavioural scientists, public health officials, immunologists, from the wide range of expertise that you would need to manage this crisis. And at SAGE, it is a scientific discussion. What I've witnessed and experienced is a scientific discussion between scientific advisors, robust discussion at time, as we consider the evidence, conclude what the evidence is telling us, sometimes point to where the evidence is missing and where we need to gain and generate further evidence, and then, as is in the name of the group, then to provide advice to government and government officials in terms of the scientific basis of the choices that government quite rightly has to make as elected representatives.
Thank you, Stephen. Nigel, was there anything else you'd like to raise at all?
Just whether or not that Dominic Cummings actually made any contribution at those meetings.
Well, the scientific contributions are exactly as I said. It's the scientists that make the scientific contributions, and the scientists and the experts in that group that are absolutely involved in generating the advice. So the advice comes from those scientific experts to government and government officials. That's exactly what SAGE is set up to do, and that is exactly what my experience is of the way SAGE works.
Thank you, Stephen. Nigel, many thanks.